Today, we are tackling something really fundamental, what the sources call the self-image trap. We've got material that not only explains this concept, but really maps out the psychology, even the neuroscience behind it, and crucially, how to get out of it.
Yeah, and the story behind it is, well, it's pretty unexpected. It doesn't start with a psychologist,
Yeah.
but with a plastic surgeon in the 1950s, Maxwell Maltz.
A plastic surgeon. Okay, tell me more.
Right, he was, reshaping faces, noses, chins, very successful. And he assumed naturally that fixing the outside would automatically fix the inside. A new face equals a new outlook.
But that's where it got complicated, wasn't it? That classic paradox he stumbled upon.
Exactly. He saw that, yeah, some patients totally transformed, became confident, happy, but others, even after technically perfect surgery,
They still weren't happy with what they saw in the mirror.
they still hated their reflection. The outside changed, but Maltz realized their inner movie did not change.
Inner movie. That's a powerful way to put it. So the external fix wasn't enough.
Not at all. The core programming stayed the same. And Maltz figured out that the real face, the one running the show, is psychological. It's that self-image. And it can act like a prison guard, really limiting what you think you can do or achieve.
Okay, so our mission today is basically to unpack how that internal prison works and then figure out the mental surgery needed to break free.
That's the plan, performing some mental surgery.
All right, let's start with the mechanics then. If the self-image is the guard, what's the main psychological thing keeping us stuck?
Well, it starts with what you could call the invisible projector. Think of your brain like it's constantly running a film, the film of who you think you are.
Okay.
So when people feel stuck, what do they usually do? They try to change the external stuff, right? New job, new city, new relationship.
Yeah, makes sense. Change the scenery.
But the sources argue that's basically just repainting the screen, the film, the underlying story about yourself.
Yeah.
It hasn't changed.
And that film keeps looping because the brain cares more about something else than just, say, happiness or getting ahead.
Yes, it cares about consistency. Deep down, the brain is wired for survival, and survival historically meant sticking with the familiar.
Okay, familiar equals safe, even if it's limiting.
Pretty much. So
Yeah.
if you've got this long-held idea like, I'm just not good with people, or I always choke under pressure, even if it makes you miserable, your brain kind of locks onto that.
It defends that definition.
It defends it fiercely. It'll twist situations, filter information, anything to prove that old definition right. It's like an internal defense mechanism for your identity, even a crummy identity.
Wow. That really reframes self-sabotage, doesn't it? It's not necessarily wanting to fail, but wanting to be consistent with who you think you are.
Precisely. Which leads us right into Maltz's big idea, borrowed from engineering, actually, psycho-cybernetics.
The thermostat of identity.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love this analogy.
It's a great one. Your self-image is like a thermostat set to your normal level of success or happiness. Let's say it's set at a level 6, just hypothetically.
Okay, my comfortable average is 6.
Right. Now, suddenly, something amazing happens. Huge promotion, you win some money, incredible new relationship, boom, you're at a level 9.
Things are getting hot. So the thermostat detects this. And what does it do? Does it try to cool things down? Is that the homeostasis effect?
That's exactly it. The system immediately starts trying to cool things down, and that shows up as procrastination. Maybe finding weird reasons to hesitate, making little mistakes you wouldn't normally make.
Self-sabotage, basically.
It looks like self-sabotage, but the system's goal is just homeostasis. It wants to get you back to that familiar, comfortable level 6 identity.
This explains that classic comparison you hear about the difference between lottery winners and, say, entrepreneurs who build things from scratch.
It's a perfect example. You see these stories. Lottery winners get millions, and a few years later, it's all gone. Why? Because their underlying identity might still be whispering, I got lucky. Or maybe, I'm not someone who handles this kind of money.
Their internal thermostat is still set low.
Exactly. So the system works, unconsciously often, to get rid of the money until things feel normal again, consistent with that old identity.
But contrast that with someone who sees themselves as a builder.
Right.
A self-made entrepreneur might go bankrupt, lose everything, but often they bounce back surprisingly fast because their core identity is still intact. I build, I solve problems, I create value. The system doesn't really care about the bank balance. It cares about being consistent with that identity. It's fascinating how much power that default setting wields. And what's really cool is that this isn't just Maltz's intuition from the 50s anymore, right? Science has actually caught up.
It absolutely has. Modern neuroscience has pinpointed the main hub for our self-concept. It's in the medial prefrontal cortex. the MPFC.
The MPFC. Okay, so that's the brain's identity center.
Yeah, it's constantly buzzing with self-related thoughts. And knowing this really shines a light on why that mental rehearsal loop Maltz talked about is so incredibly powerful and potentially damaging.
So what was Maltz's key insight about rehearsal? How does the subconscious and therefore the MPFC handle it? This is critical. The subconscious cannot distinguish rehearsal from reality. It just can't tell the difference. Okay, unpack that. What does it mean in practice?
It means when you're sitting there mentally replaying that embarrassing meeting or thinking, I always mess things up or I'm just not capable, that part of your brain, the MPSC, it lights up. It fires as if it's happening right now.
So every time you replay a failure in your head,
You're strengthening the neural pathway for that failure.
Yeah.
You're literally practicing being that less capable version of yourself. You're reinforcing that negative identity.
so worry isn't just a feeling, it's an act of negative programming. We think we're being realistic, but we're actually kind of installing the software for the disaster we fear.
That's a great way to put it. Most people, without realizing it, spend huge amounts of mental energy rehearsing disaster, running mental simulations that confirm their deepest anxieties.
And those casual statements we make, oh, I'm terrible with money or I'm just shy, they aren't just descriptions. Maltz argued they function like hypnotic commands. You're basically instructing your nervous system, keep me shy, keep me bad with money, and the brain just complies.
The brain is very compliant in this way. It then actively filters your reality, looking for evidence to prove that command right, and ignoring stuff that contradicts it. It makes the self-image the ultimate prison guard of your potential.
Okay, so if the trap is built on consistency and this negative rehearsal, the way out has to be a conscious internal job, what Maltz called mental surgery. The self isn't fixed then, definitely not. The self is a construct, not a constant. That's step one of the operation, realizing that. Seeing your current self-image isn't you, it's just the result of past habits and thoughts. That's the awareness part. What's step two?
Step 2 is experience. Deliberately acting differently, doing things that contradict the old script until your nervous system actually records the new pattern, until it starts to feel true, which flips the script on how we usually think about change. It brings us to that core principle. Identity follows action, not the other way around. Exactly. We're usually taught to wait until we feel confident or capable before we act, but this says no, that's backward.
So confidence isn't something you wait for, it's something you build through doing.
It's a learned behavior. You have to practice it. Like soldiers drilling maneuvers until they're automatic, or an actor rehearsing until the character feels real. You have to drill the actions of capability, even if you don't feel it at first.
And the feeling comes later.
The feeling of confidence is the result of doing the thing,
Right.
repeatedly and intentionally, but not the prerequisite.
There are some amazing stories about people consciously doing this rehearsal for greatness. Jim Carrey's story comes to mind.
Oh yeah, Carey totally got this, maybe intuitively. Way before he was famous, he famously wrote himself a check.
For $10 million, right?
$10 million, yeah.
Right.
For acting services rendered. And he dated it years in the future, carried it in his wallet, visualized cashing it.
He wasn't just daydreaming, was he?
No, it was more than that. He was actively conditioning his brain, programming his MPFC, if you like, getting his nervous system used to the idea, the identity of being that successful actor, making it feel familiar, even inevitable.
Now contrast that deliberate conditioning with the flip side, the cost of being stuck. Like that patient Maltz had who needed so many surgeries.
Yeah, that story is heartbreaking, but so instructive. She had, 12 surgeries, achieved externally what most would call perfection.
But inside.
Inside, her inner movie was still stuck on unworthy or flawed. That psychological barrier just wouldn't budge no matter how much your face changed. Maltz called it emotional scar tissue.
Emotional scar tissue. Wow.
Yeah. Invisible wounds, he said, tougher and more resistant than any physical skin. You can't fix that with a scalpel on the outside. The internal command, I am flawed, has to be overwritten. Otherwise, the outside world will just keep reflecting that old belief back at you.
Okay, so this is the crucial part for anyone listening. How do we actually do this? How do we perform this mental surgery day to day? What are the tools?
Right, the practical side. And the key here is precision. It demands honesty over blind positivity. This isn't just about slapping on a fake smile and chanting affirmations if you don't believe them.
So just saying, I'm great, when you feel terrible doesn't cut it.
It rarely does, because your nervous system knows you're faking it. The way you outgrow the old program is by catching that negative script as it's playing and consciously editing it with accuracy.
The sources called this the skeletal cut technique. Can you give an example of how that works?
Sure. Let's say that familiar thought pops up. I always mess up projects like this. You catch it, pause, then you perform the cut. You reframe it internally, immediately, to something like that was the old version of me learning how to do this.
Yeah, yeah. So you separate your current self from the past pattern.
Exactly. Or if you do make a mistake, instead of the internal label, I am a failure, you state factually, okay, I am currently running a failed experiment on this approach. It separates you from the action or the old habit.
That distinction is really important. And related to that is the idea of using verbs instead of labels. Yes. Dismantle those rigid labels we stick on ourselves. I am shy. I am anxious. I am disorganized. They freeze you. Replace them with flexible verbs that imply process and change. I am learning social skills. I am practicing managing my anxiety. I am improving my organization. Verbs allow movement. Labels keep you stuck. That's such a practical shift. Labels versus verbs. Okay, and Maltz also had a very simple, almost deceptively simple daily practice, didn't he? The mirror ritual. Incredibly simple, which is probably why people might underestimate it, but powerful. The instruction is stand in front of a mirror for 60 seconds. Look directly into your own eyes, not glancing away, really connect. Okay, 60 seconds looking in my eyes. Then what? Then you affirm 3 specific things. I am capable, calm, and in control. Just state them. Capable, calm, and in control.
Right, and the goal initially isn't some huge emotional surge of conviction. You might feel awkward, even silly, or like you're lying at first.
That discomfort is actually a sign it's working.
It's proof the old program is being challenged. The real goal is just familiarity. You're getting your nervous system used to hearing and seeing this new message associated with your reflection.
And doing this consistently is key, which ties back to the neuroscience of building new pathways. Maltz suggested 21 days.
He did, and modern neuroscience roughly backs that up for forming a new neural pattern. Think of it like walking through tall grass.
Okay.
Your old negative thought patterns, that's a well-worn path, easy to follow. Starting the mirror ritual or the scalpel cut reframing is like trying to forge a new path. Doing it daily for 21 days starts to flatten the grass. The new path becomes visible, easier to choose.
But 21 days is just the start.
It's the start. Keep going for, say, 90 days, and you're not just flattening grass anymore. You're carving a clear road, a maintained neural pathway. That's when the new self-image starts to become the automatic default. Consistency is literally carving identity into your brain.
So, assuming we do this work, we use the tools, we escape the trap. What's the end goal? Is it to achieve some kind of perfect, flawless self-image? Because that sounds kind of brittle.
It is brittle, and that's not the goal at all. The goal isn't perfection, it's flexibility. It's what psychologists sometimes call self-complexity.
Self-complexity, meaning?
Having a self-image that isn't just one thing, a rigid identity, I am only strong or I am only successful. It shatters the first time reality challenges it. A flexible identity knows you can be strong and ask for help, successful and have setbacks, confident and feel doubt sometimes.
So it was more resilient.
Much more. It adapts to stress. It's like a living passport, Maltz might say, one that gets updated with experience rather than a fixed statue that can crack.
And interestingly, this flexibility leads to more genuine confidence, fueled by actual evidence.
Yeah, it's a bit of a paradox. The less you obsess about projecting some perfect, rigid image, the more authentic you can be. And every time you act authentically, maybe choosing courage when you feel fear, your subconscious is logging that. It's collecting data. See, I handled that. I got through it. So confidence stops being a feeling you're chasing and becomes evidence. Yeah. Based on what you've actually done.
Evidence based on your actions. Exactly.
You see this kind of resilience play out in really high-stakes situations. People like Elon Musk with exploding rockets, or Michael Jordan getting cut from his team.
Think about it. The external event, a huge public failure, right? For most people, that would be crushing, an identity killer.
Yeah, I'm a failure.
But their internal narratives were clearly different. They didn't seem to take it as a final verdict on who they were. It was processed more like data, or just one scene in a much larger film.
Because their core identity was still, I am a builder who iterates for Musk. Or, I am a champion who finds a way to win for Jordan. That underlying robust identity dictated, okay, learn from this, keep going. While someone with a fragile identity would internalize it as, see, I'm not cut out for this, and quit.
So the takeaway here is really powerful. If you keep hitting the same walls, attracting the same kinds of problems.
Don't just look at the external situation. That's repainting the screen again.
You have to look at the story running underneath, the script that says, this is who I am.
That's where the work is. Rewrite that script. Maltz's real contribution wasn't fixing faces. It was showing us how to perform mental surgery. It takes awareness, it takes repetition, and it takes deliberate action.
And that daily operation, it can start right now. For everyone listening, the simplest starting point is that 21-day mirror ritual. Just 60 seconds. Look yourself in the eye and state it. Capable, calm, and in control. Start building that familiarity, because ultimately what all these sources point to is a fundamental truth. You don't attract what you want in life. You attract what you fundamentally believe you are.